What if I told you the universe doesn't notice you? Not your struggles, not your survival, not your desperate cries to be remembered. Because the truth is harsh. Time does not care about you. It doesn't pause when you stumble. It doesn't rewind when you regret. It doesn't mourn when you're lost. It just moves on. Through this journey, you've faced beasts, silence, hunger, fear, and madness. You've learned that survival is more than food or fire. It's the will to matter in a world that forgets you. But in the end, what is the ultimate lesson of being lost in time? It's that time itself is indifferent. And that indifference is more terrifying than any creature, more unshakable than any prison, and more permanent than any death. Time is a river. You've heard that metaphor before, but standing here, truly lost in a world not your own, you finally understand it. Rivers don't stop for a stone in their path. They don't mourn when a leaf is carried away. They simply flow, and that's what time does. Your disappearance didn't change the present you came from. The people you knew continued waking, working, dreaming. They kept living. Birthdays were celebrated, meals were shared, laughter echoed, all without you. That realization cuts deeper than any claw, deeper than any hunger. Because you expected to matter. You expected your absence to leave a scar. But the scar healed before it was ever noticed. Time didn't pause. It didn't even blink. And you became nothing more than a moment swallowed by eternity. At night, you stare at the sky. The stars have been constant companions, cold, silent, watching. They look the same as they always did. But that's the point, isn't it? They shine regardless of your presence. They burn regardless of your suffering. They don't change because you are here, lost, forgotten. The stars are older than you. They will outlive you. And their light will keep traveling long after your story ends. And that indifference, the endless cosmic indifference, teaches you the most brutal lesson. You don't matter to time, not in the way you once believed, not as an unshakable force. And yet, strangely, that realization brings clarity. Because if time doesn't care, then maybe the weight of existence was never about time caring. Maybe it was always about how you care. Not whether the universe remembers you, but whether you remember yourself. The stars will move on. The world will move on. But what you choose to do in the moment, that is yours alone. Indifference doesn't erase meaning. It only forces you to define it yourself. You begin to understand something strange. If time won't remember you, then memory must come from within. Every step you've taken, every beast you've faced, every fire you've built, every tear shed in silence, they belong to you. And in remembering them, you resist the erasure. You push back against the endless current. You tell yourself stories aloud, not because anyone will hear them, but because they deserve to be told. You trace symbols into the dirt, not because anyone will find them, but because the act itself matters. Memory becomes your weapon. Because if time doesn't care, then survival isn't about returning home. It's about refusing to vanish silently. Your existence may not leave ripples in the grand river of time, but within yourself, you are still the storyteller. And storytelling is the only way mortals fight eternity. Once the thought of being forgotten horrified you. Now it humbles you. Because in accepting your smallness, you see something new. You are not the master of time. You never were. You are simply a fragment carried along, like every creature that ever lived. Dinosaurs once ruled this world, and time moved on. Ancient empires rose and fell, and time moved on. Families loved, fought, dreamed, and died, and still time moved on. And one day, long after you're gone, time will move on again. You are not its center. You are its passenger. And in that truth, there is peace. Because if time doesn't care about you, then your task isn't to fight it. It's to live inside it, to breathe the air of the present, to feel the weight of each second, not as eternity's cruelty, but as eternity's gift. Even if no one remembers you, survival isn't about escape anymore. It isn't about bending time to your will or forcing a return. Survival is choosing to live, even when eternity is indifferent. It's waking up and finding beauty in the fire's glow. It's watching the sunrise and knowing it's the same sun your ancestors saw. It's finding peace in the rhythm of your own breath. It's not about returning home. It's about realizing that home isn't a place. It's a state of being. And maybe, just maybe, survival is about letting go. Letting go of the need to matter to time. Because you already matter to yourself. You sit by the river, the stars reflected on its surface. For the first time, you don't beg for a portal to open. You don't plead for escape. You simply watch. And in that moment, you realize something profound. Time's indifference is not cruelty. It's freedom. Because if time doesn't care, then you are free to define your own meaning. Free to craft your own story. Free to live without the pressure of eternity's gaze. You think of the phrase again. Time doesn't care about you. It moves on without you. But maybe the truth is softer. Time moves on, and so can you. Even here, even now, even lost, you can move forward. Not as a victim, not as a prisoner, but as a traveler. Not through portals, not through centuries, but through moments. Through breaths, through choices, and perhaps, that's all time ever asked of you. The story of being lost in time isn't really about beasts, hunger, or solitude. It's about the realization that the universe is vast, indifferent, eternal. And that in that indifference lies the challenge of meaning. Time will move on, stars will burn, rivers will flow. But what you do here, in the seconds you're given, that is your rebellion. That is your legacy. That is your survival. So yes, time doesn't care about you. It moves on without you. But maybe that was never the horror. Maybe that's the gift. Because if time doesn't care, then the meaning of your life was never written in its laws. It was always waiting to be written by you.